Circle, which is the platform that I use for my community, pretty much all of Convology Plus, just released a new feature yesterday that allows you to build pages inside of Circle. It's basically like a page builder experience that lets you create just about any type of page. And it looks like they're making a move towards giving us the ability to essentially craft an entire website on the Circle platform. One of the things that really captured my attention from the beginning is the ability for all of it just to kind of really seamlessly integrate with the entire community experience. I really like when things like builders are really close to the data and they can integrate together. A quick example of that would be the ability to know whether somebody has already purchased a access to the community or purchased a certain paywall, or if somebody's logged in or logged out. That type of thing is really important when integrated with something like a community. So in this video, I want to dive in. I want to show you the page building experience. There's things that I really like about it right now. There's things that I definitely think they need to fix. And there are things that I'd really like to see come that I know they are working on. They've kind of posted that and they're coming soon. So let's dive in and take a look at things and we'll kind of talk about it as we go. So here we are inside of my community. We can access the new page building section under content and then under pages. And here is a list of all the pages. I've basically been playing with it for a couple of hours. So I was playing around with creating like a Convology Plus pricing page, which kind of morphed into more of a sales page. And then I've been playing around with like a sandbox. But the experience lives directly inside of Circle. You don't have to go somewhere else. Again, it's very integrated. When you create a new page here, they've presented you with a handful of templates. There's 8 of them right now. I suspect they'll be adding more. And kind of like what I said, it looks like they're creating more of a whole site experience. So you can create a home page, a sales page, an about page, a pricing page. But it's important to kind of understand that these pages are just templates. Nothing makes a home page any different from a pricing page mechanically. It's basically where you assign them to be used. And I do know that there is more coming for this that will allow you to use these pages in different places. And we'll go over one of those ways of using them in just a second after I show you a bit of the builder. So I'm going to choose one of these templates here. You can hit preview, which kind of brings up this little preview window. But I'm going to go directly into the builder and just hit apply. One of the things I like about it, it's really kind of snappy and fast. There's no like long loads or anything like that. You don't seem to have to wait for anything to load. But let's quickly take a look at the general layout here of the builder, kind of the usability of it and what you're given access to. So right off the bat, you can kind of see as I move my mouse around here, it is kind of an element-based builder, which is basically what almost all of the page builder experiences are like. And as I scroll down, you can see there's a varying number of different types of elements, and I'll show you all of them in a second here. But you can build some pretty nice looking pages that I think the vast majority of your everyday person would be totally fine with. And this will go into some of that in a second on some of those the caveats there. But let's look at the different elements before we dive in and talk about the building experience here. On the left-hand side, we've got blocks. And if I expand this out, this would be like your pre-made templates. So if you want a different hero section or maybe a featured section. So let's say I wanted to bring in something more like, let's just choose this one right here. I'll just drag and drop it in. And there it is. Kind of loads in pretty quickly. I can open up the elements section. And this is where I would drag and drop an individual element. So let's say I wanted a button underneath this picture. I would just click, drag, and drop. Pretty simple. The elements right now are pretty basic. They've got a paragraph and a heading block, a link and a button block for actions. Got some media here. The video block, for example, if I drop this in and click on it here, on the right-hand side, this is the contextual editing, very similar to other builders as well. Some have it on the left, some have it on the right. You can choose the source of your video. You can make it a URL, which I suspect is going to use all of Circle's kind of native video URL integrations. They've kind of ghosted in a placeholder here for YouTube, but we can test it with a Vimeo video really quick. Yeah, there we go. I went ahead and pasted in a Vimeo video link and it seemed to work. So I'm going to suspect that this works with all of the same video embed providers that the rest of Circle works with, which only makes sense. Oops, let me go ahead and undo that here with the little undo button. I do want to show that you can go to the design section and you have control over things like margins, padding, width, size, etc. This seems to be pretty common with all of the elements in the builder. So I could put a 18 pixel corner radius on the video, which actually didn't seem to do anything. So maybe some of these settings, although present for the video player, do nothing. But if I click on let's say this image up here and I go to design, the corner radius here, if I made this to be 5, that did have an effect, very, very subtle effect on the rounding here of the photo. So that's where the settings are on the right. It seems fairly intuitive. It seems fairly easy to edit things. If you click on typography, you can choose a different heading, and I'll show you in a second where you can configure what an H1, H2, etc. are. Under design, for most elements, you have things like color, text transform, alignment, various things like that. One of the things that I ran into was with buttons. It's pretty hard to get a button to align center. I actually haven't been able to figure it out yet. You can align the text, but I haven't figured out how to align a button center. So hopefully they've got some more editing capabilities coming soon, because right now it looks like things like buttons, I can only get to align to the left, which could be user error. But if it's not super intuitive to me after playing with this for about an hour and a half, trying to build things, it might not be intuitive to other people as well. So again, back in this element tray, that you can do things like custom HTML, which opens up a lot of possibilities. And they have little nifty things like badges and badge lists, various little things like that, lists. The list element does let you add in either emojis or you can upload your own custom images. So it's a fairly decent list element as well. All right, moving on here to the design little tab on the left, you can see you can update your brand and you can manage your brand, which opens up anything you've already uploaded to Circle. I did this years and years and years ago, so it's already here for me. But you can update your logos there. You can also update the current theme, and I have been playing around a lot with this. So mine's kind of not default, but essentially you can choose between a bunch of pre-made themes, and you can see here I've created a custom theme. To do that, I basically went under colors and I adjusted one of the themes. I added my own brand blue. I still have to fix this blue right here because it's not my brand blue, but I'll show you like I can change that to my blue, hit save, updates there, and then I just hit update site theme. It says this will create a custom theme. If I hit save on that and I go back, you can see now I'm using custom theme number 2. So there are some things that I wish they would tweak a little bit. I think it should be a little more intuitive, like theme 1 is hard coded to these colors, which is a little bit obnoxious. So now theme 2 is what I would have to switch to use that theme. A little bit annoying. Colors in general, though, like I could just edit the colors here and update the page theme, but that would not update the theme that gets used everywhere. I think that needs a little tweaking as well. Under the styles section here, I can update individual styles that get used. So like I could update my secondary text colors, link colors, and things like that. And pretty much anywhere where there's a color picker, you have the option to add your own colors. So you can play with theme colors, which I have, as you saw, I basically overwrote the theme. And then you can add in your own colors that you can customize. So pretty decent on the color customization. Now going into the text section here, you can adjust things like font size, line height, letter spacing, things like that. So it's decent. And then you can update the themes as you want to, or update them on the page. Or if you don't really want to touch all of the typography site-wide, but let's say you just wanted to adjust the person's name, you could click on it, and although it says heading 3 here, I can go to the design tab and I could adjust the font size to something, ridiculously big or small. Let's see, like that, right? We'll turn it to 4 instead of 3 point whatever it is. And I can adjust it individually, despite it being an H3. But if I click it back to, let's say, an H2 and then back to an H3, it inherits back what an H3 is supposed to be, or what it has been set as under the global settings. You can also see that there is a dark and a light mode that you can just toggle between. And if you do too much customization of the theme, you're going to make this a little harder for yourself because you'll have to come back in and make tweaks to it. But the light theme and the dark theme by default work pretty well. So you can choose a light and dark theme. I'm definitely a fan of the light themes on websites. But in general, you can stylize all your things here pretty good. Let's go now to the page settings here. So you can give your page a name. This is for like the back end when you saw it on our list. Like I'll call mine our demo video. You can have a status, draft and published. And here's some of that dynamic access control that I was talking about before. So you can determine who sees a page. You can make the page open so that anyone can see it. You can set it to members only, which means they have to be logged into your community and be a member of the community, which doesn't necessarily mean that they are a paid member of your community. It just means that they are a user with a user account logged into your community. Access groups is more where you would control who can see it based on what they've purchased, what they have access to, essentially dictated by the access group feature, which I have gone over in another video. You can check that out. I'll link it down below in the description and probably at the end of the video as well. And here you can choose which of your access groups. So like if I chose my test access group, only people assigned to that access group would be able to see it. So that's pretty cool. I think this is probably one of the better features, is this ability to incorporate access controls for pages. So you could create like member-only pages that you could link to, and you could embed various member-only experiences on that are in addition to your community. So kind of to clarify what I'm saying there, you have your normal circle spaces, discussion spaces, events, things like that. But if you wanted to create like a page and protect a page, you could protect it behind an access group. I think that's really cool. I think there's a lot of possibilities there for like giving people access to, like, let's say a workshop, and you wanted to embed it in more of a landing page experience. I actually do this all the time. When I have my workshops, I like to put the workshop on a page, and then I like to use all the space around the workshop, below it, above it, to market my membership or market access to whatever it might be that I kind of want to segue them into from a free thing to a paid thing. So you would be able to do that all entirely in Circle now, which is actually really, really cool because it helps you make sure that you're in control of kind of all ends of that funnel. And one of the things I really like about the ability to add like an HTML element onto the page is you could incorporate things like a countdown timer. So like I use high level, so I could put a high level countdown timer on a page and have somebody who signed up maybe through a form of any kind, use Zapier to give them access to an access group. We could call the access group like workshop lead magnet. So anyone with the workshop lead magnet could see my page, watch the workshop, and then I can have a countdown timer on the page that says, hey, just so you know, you've got 24 hours to upgrade to the full membership for whatever, this discount, these bonuses. And then after that expires, you could kind of revoke access to that page, maybe send them to a different one. You have those options because this has the ability to associate who is and is not a member, which I think is really kind of cool. So I want to keep moving on here. So you can choose to hide the header of the site. The header is this right here. So by default, it has this login option for logged out people. So I could turn it off, and really quickly, let's read this. So the setting here removes the navigation for logged out visitors, creating a distraction-free experience, but logged in members will always retain their navigation for community access. So that's pretty cool. So that's an option there. You can choose to make these indexable in Google, and you have control over title and meta, social share stuff, custom header code for tracking, all that fun stuff. So pretty good. And then under site settings here, you can control the logged in and logged out navigations. This is really cool because this is already part of the Circle community. In my community, I already have chosen what I want to appear up at the top. So like home, courses, and events, but I've turned off the member directory and I've turned off the leaderboard. And so both of those things don't appear at all anyway. So just inherited all of that. And for logged out members, I have historically already created a button. So it brought that over where I have a link. So I can edit that link here, and it already goes directly to the Convology Plus checkout page hosted in Circle. That's really, really cool. You can also turn on the site settings in general, which covers things like a sitemap. So again, they really are moving more towards a full site experience because they're giving you things like a sitemap, Google site verification, robots control. You can do code snippets for your whole site, like if you wanted to drop some analytics in there. Some defaults that you can turn on, like default pages and stuff. Some of this actually also affects your community, so make sure you read through that. And then this is a pretty cool section that I don't know if it's brand new, but I just found it today. I do think this is new because this is just choosing pages, but essentially that's a pretty good thing to have. So if you decide to retire a page, instead of it just living out there as a 404 error page, or I don't know what the error would look like, but instead of getting an error that the page doesn't exist, you can just do a redirect and push it to a new URL. Okay, so that's kind of an overview of the general experience here. It seems fairly feature rich in terms of like mobile and tablet, light mode, dark mode. Pretty good. Some of my gripes about it, like for example with text here, I want to be able to click and highlight and change text, but I'm stuck having to edit over here on the right-hand side. So I lose a little bit of control. Like I can't hit Shift Enter, right? Like to drop it down a line. I would have to shorten it, like delete this part of the sentence here, and then add in another text element or a paragraph element. And then I'd have to like type the text in here in order to get it to appear like a second drop down line. So again, I have to edit on the right, not inline. I can't like edit in the experience itself. So I hope that that gets fixed in the future. I don't know if this was like a conscious choice, keeping it this way. Maybe it makes it load faster. I don't know, but I don't like it as much as being able to just say, there's a typo there. Let me click into it and change it instead of having to come over here on the right-hand side, like find it inside this little box and make the change. I don't know if that's nitpicking, but I prefer the other way. So I hope they do change it in the future. Also, moving things, like if I wanted to select this image and I wanted to move it around, you can't do that. Nor in this case, can I move it up or down. Seems to kind of be locked in place compared to like this text here. Again, can't drag and drop this text anywhere, but I can push this little arrow to move it up and down, very similar to how the WordPress block editor works. And I can clone and delete, and I can do a few things. I'm hoping that changes in the future. I want it to just be a little more dynamic, like very quickly being able to drag this paragraph under here, because technically under the elements, I can drag something underneath this image. And now I can move the image up and down because something exists in this column. So that introduces another thing I hope they fix in the future, is more control over columns. But I think the general theme here with my my kind of like, they're not frustrations, I think that's too intense, but they're kind of like my nitpicking on the features right now, is I think this is like version 1. They wanted to get this out. I think they went with let's make this as streamlined as possible, right? Like you can't play with columns, so no one's going to have a question on how to use columns. They just don't exist. I think that's the direction they went. And if not, then they still for sure went with, this is version 1.0. We're going to improve this as we move forward. So kind of, take it as it is. It's an early version of the builder, but you can hopefully at least see the potential from what I'm showing you in this video. Kind of wrapping up really quickly here, I do just want to show you what I was playing around with inside of the builder here. I was able to build something pretty similar to what I have for my Convology sales page. This is all placeholder junk. This I edited the text on, playing around with different font sizes. This I was just playing around with editing pricing tables because I do have some really cool pricing tables. And one of the things I really like is this highlight feature over here on the right. And again, this is very simple and maybe even dumbed down, but I got a kick out of it. So like if I remove the highlight, the price option here on the right has no highlight, has no like call out. If I put something in here, like most popular, it adds a blue bar around it, and it adds that little flag or badge at the top that says most popular. I got a kick out of that. I thought that was pretty cool because that's actually pretty hard to do in WordPress, like default WordPress, unless you've got a plugin or something that lets you do that, or a builder that does this. I can't do that I cannot do that easily in my current WordPress page builder. So I'm actually able to build a better looking like price table in Circle faster than I can do inside of my builder in WordPress. So I have been playing around with the idea of, could I move my sales page here off of Convology.com? And based on what I'm seeing here, I could get pretty close. Again, this is all just placeholder content. I bet I could get pretty close. And if you watched any of my videos recently, I'm a big fan of convenience, efficiency, connectivity, and I kind of prioritize those things now over like what I would be missing out if I moved, right? So, maybe I can't do this particular type of drop shadow in the circle builder. I don't have as much control over my columns, but I can make an amazing price table and this page could be super connected to the rest of my community. That seems really cool. So, right, for me, I would weigh those pros and cons, but in general, this is definitely a good start. Let's put it that way. All right, so last thing I want to show you here with the builder is how it kind of integrates with at least one component of the community. So let's say I go into my resource library where I put all my replays, tutorials, workshops, etc. And I wanted to change the lock screen for this. Historically, I would click the 3 dots, and where it now says mobile lock screen, this used to be just the lock screen editor in general. Pretty terrible. It's really bad. You used to have to just like edit this manually. It was pretty bad. But if I hit customize, I found that down here, they've added a lock screen page option. So now I can just choose a page once it's published. I have no published pages right now. But let's say I built that Convology Plus sales page and I had someone in my community, maybe someone who, and maybe they only had my Circle affiliate bonus, which gives access to like the weekly office hours and the tech help. Well, if they wanted to go to my resource library, they would need to be a member. So if they clicked on it in the navigation, currently it just shows a little pricing table, but I could show a literal full sales page that I've built inside a Circle, which is pretty cool for Circle users, right? You can do that in plenty of other tools. It's like a standard thing, and now we can do it inside a Circle. So I really, really like this simplicity here. And as it says here on the mobile lock screen, this page is only visible to non-members viewing this on viewing a private space on mobile apps. So perhaps they haven't brought the page builder viewing in. Oh, I think that's probably a guarantee. They haven't brought it over to mobile yet. I suspect this will evolve fairly quickly into their full all-in-one suite. So pretty cool. All right, I just wanted to give you that quick look at the new page builder experience. I wanted you to be able to see what Circle's working on. It is the platform that runs my community, my events. Pretty much my whole membership is inside of Circle. I'm a huge fan of Circle. I don't talk about it enough. I think I'm going to be talking about it more here in the near future because I love this tool and I continue to stick with it now, coming up on, I think I'm entering 5th or 6th year using it for my community. So obviously I'm enjoying it, and I wanted to kind of share what they're working on. Overall, I think I would give the builder a 5 or 6 out of 10, just because it's so early and it's not quite where I would want it to be. So in terms of the page builder experience, 6 out of 10. In terms of how it's currently integrating with the whole community, gold star. I think it's going to only get better from there. I do know dynamic content integration with events, things like that is coming. That was in their announcement. I saw that in their community. In general, the site experience, I'm going to give it a thumbs up on the whole site experience. I think the potential of where they're going is very, very enticing. Would I use this right now for my whole website? Absolutely not. It's not ready yet. But if you don't have a website, if you are starting fresh, maybe you're launching a completely community first business, events first business, you've got courses, you have no website, WordPress doesn't interest you, you don't want to have web hosting, absolutely consider this. Like it's hard to say no to a fully integrated experience that doesn't cost you any more than what you're already paying for. This is included in your membership at Circle. So you're just getting started. Absolutely. I would say check it out before going to something like WordPress, because you may not need a full, complete other website. So I'm excited to see what they do with it. I'm excited to play around with it a bit more, become more comfortable with it, maybe make some additional tutorials in the future on how to create those types of workshop funnels that I was talking about and integrate this into the rest of my tech stack. But there's a ton of potential there. Before you go, if you are interested in learning more about Circle, I'll have a link down below in the description. And if you want to learn more about access groups and some of the things you can do with them, definitely check out this video.